We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
When fact checkers only work for one side of the aisle, how much faith can the public have in its institutions? With news that a supposedly bipartisan group was responsible for flagging what they call falsehoods, at the behest of just one party, I might add, the narrative tends to crumble. Now, someone who's been delving deep into this particular morass is Liberty Nation's national columnist, Sarah Cowgill, who joins us here today. Thanks for being here, Sarah.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Mark. It's a sticky subject.
It is. It's such an odd topic, especially once we get into the details, which are coming up right now. So there's a group called the Election Integrity Project. What's their role?
Well, they popped up right prior to the 2020 election, and their whole job was to, make sure that any kind of misinformation or outright lies or things that could be fact-checked regarding the candidates and the issues and all of the drama that surrounded 2020 could be put into a category of either it's true, go ahead and let the big tech media platforms publish, or not. That's basically it in a nutshell.
Okay, and this group, the Election Integrity Project, is made up of whom?
Well, lots of liberal institutions, and
what a shock!
Me, but I'm gonna have to read them to you.
Absolutely.
The Stanford Internet Observatory, the University of Washington, the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab, and social media analytics firm Graphica. These are all very well known, very liberal-oriented, progressive-oriented type of organizations.
So what they essentially did was they had outside groups send them messages that they'd come across on social media or websites, for example. And then this group, the Election Integrity Project, they would then call that a ticket and then put that ticket towards the big tech platforms. Is that right?
That is correct. It's a very simple process if you are allowed to submit a ticket. Basically, all you do is write out, show the information, tell people where it's at, the Election Integrity Project, tell the people where it is, maybe just post a link. And then the Election Integrity Project takes that and analyzes it, and then, basically goes to the big tech people and tells them not to publish.
Now, they've had the Election Integrity Project, it's had quite good success. Well, let's not use the term good on that. Let's not use that particular adjective, but it has
been very successful.
Success. And what are the numbers on that?
Well, and again,
please feel free to reference.
I don't like math so much, and I don't memorize numbers unless it's whatever's in my bank account or my pocket.
That's the one.
Let's see. In there, and this was I pulled this right out of their annual report, project report after the election. It was published in 2021. They had a 35% success rate influencing tech platforms to remove, to restrict content, or slap a label on the post. All those, pop-up ads that say, go see this about your vaccination, or, they give you options and tell you that the post is misleading or outright lie. And then they also, in the report, boast that Twitter, Google, Facebook, and TikTok all had 75% or higher response rate on EIP ticketing, which means that they went, yeah, we can remove that. Whatever, 75% out of 100% of complaints is a pretty high number.
Some would say that's almost 3/4.
Some would say that is almost exactly 3/4. Thank you for making that more simple, Mark.
You're very welcome. Now, here's the thing that really got me on this, Sarah. You wrote in an article for this on libertynation.com, and you explained who had the ability to raise complaints to the Election Integrity Project, which they would then action. Now, you mentioned certain federal agencies that had access to this, but you also said that the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, had the right to raise complaints. Now, here's the question that I know that everybody is wanting answered. Was this service offered to the Republican National Committee also?
I have absolutely no idea,
Okay.
but going out on a limb, I would say no. Otherwise, who wouldn't take up that opportunity to try to, balance the equation here? If I was head of the RNC, I would have demanded it, but I'm not sure too many people knew that this was even going on.
So this is likely something that the RNC was not even aware of and therefore couldn't use. So does that strike you as something that would be classed as bipartisan in your political analysis?
I would say it is extremely partisan. There wasn't anything bipartisan about this. If you look at it, you had Homeland Security and the State Department. And okay, they're going to cover their hind ends when it comes to all sorts of stuff. So yeah, we understand that there are some certain government agencies that will do that, but also the under agencies had access as well. And then when you look at the DNC and the NAACP, and who was the other? Okay, again, I'm cheating. Common Cause.
Common Cause.
Those are hardcore progressive left agencies, organizations, and they had access. So I don't see anything on here that would allow for a conservative counterbalance.
Okay, and how do you think this impacts people's trust in these big social media sites, these big internet giants, in terms of public trust?
Well, if the word gets out, it could influence public trust. But think about how many people have watched the untruths unspool in some of our major dailies and on some of our network television stations. They feel that it's okay to go ahead and report and then maybe apologize later if they have to. But, you can't unring a bell. And this is what has happened. What I see on social media is that, the conservative groups and the liberal groups, both, if it's something that they don't believe, they don't care. They just scroll past, or they block, or they move on. So I don't think it's really going to have that big of an influence unless it makes a major splash on all major cable news networks and television networks.
As the saying goes, a lie travels halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. Sarah Calgary, I want to thank you ever so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Mark.
You're listening to Liberty Nation Radio, heard across the Radio America network from our flagship station in the nation's capital, WWRC in Washington, D.C. Later in the show, we're talking liberty, but as a special treat, Scott D. Cosenza joined us early to discuss the latest Supreme Court term. Don't touch that dial. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe space.
You only did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5.